push-ups. I've been doing sit-ups. I've been doing chin-ups. I've been doing pull-ups. I threw up once, but I'm okay now.
Hi everybody, DJ Yoakley with you for a Wednesday edition of the Ysn Power Hour. I'll be joined by Scotty Mincher here in a few minutes. But first, we get to all the things going on in local sports on ysnlive.com. Last night, we named the 2022 YSN Female and Male Coach of the Year in basketball. And congratulations to the girls coach. It's Deidre Wilson from Liberty being named the 2022 YSN Girls Coach of the Year. She led the Lady Leopards to a 23-2 record, which was a huge jump, if I'm not mistaken, from the year prior. And the MVAC, I believe the Gray Division Championship and a regional berth in the OHSA tournament. A lot of things that you can say about Deidre Wilson and her team this year, but one thing that you can definitely say now is that she has earned the 2022 YSN Coach of the Year. So congratulations to her. Big on leadership. If you want more on that story, you head on over to ysnlive.com and check out one of those headlines. And then on the other side of that, you've got the Guys Coach of the Year. And that, of course, if you haven't, if you've been living under a rock for the last 12 hours or so, it is Cardinal Mooney's Carrie Palermo, who, I mean, when you look at the record, a lot of people are scratching their heads, but that's because they haven't dug in necessarily to the season that was for Cardinal Mooney. They played an unbelievable schedule. They played up in every single way, and then they just knocked off team after team after team, signature win after signature win after signature win, and Cardinal Mooney on their way to a regional berth, and finished the season with an 18-10 record, which people will look at, and again, they'll say, well, that's not crazy impressive. That doesn't usually entertain itself for Coach of the Year, Player of the Year categories, but when you look at their body of work, it certainly does, because they have huge wins over huge programs, and especially the last 4 weeks of their season in the postseason, they really turned it up and cranked it up, and halfway through their season at the Salem Christmas Classic, they were able to garner a championship there. So congratulations to Coach Palermo, Coach Watson, on the much-deserved titles of Coaches of the Year here for your sports network. With that out of the way, we bring in the one and the only Mr. Scotty Mincher. What's up there, Scooter?
Oh, it's good to be back, man. I missed you last week.
We missed you too, man. There's a little bit of, as you can see, I don't think you and Dave necessarily believe me, but there's a lot of construction going on here at YSN Studios. So you get to sit in front of the Brick by Brick Studios at the mansion by Mincher. What are we going to talk about today, buddy?
Yeah, I was thinking a lot before, because I figured I'd join you, and you gave me the green light to join you from here today. And I was thinking a lot, DJ, and with baseball season now back, and of course we got Richie Giuliani as the voice of YSU baseball, gonna have Scrappers baseball, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on something I thought was compelling. We've had many baseball conversations over the last few years, DJ, and you kind of said to me that you think the Indians, which are now the Guardians, you think their fans have been a little bit spoiled. Um, and I get that, especially when you're a Pirates fan, and other than like '92 with Bonds, and then a couple of years recently within the last like decade where the Pirates had a really good team. With the exception of those years, they've been uh, arguably the worst franchise in baseball. So I
Wow.
just wanted to get your thoughts. I read an article that the Guardians and the Pirates are both they're in the bottom three as far as payroll goes. So do you think baseball, as far as that goes, I know you said there's a way it can be fixed, and we talked about that in previous weeks. But do you think it could ever be on the NFL's level again as far as popularity without something like a salary cap?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think that a lot of it boils down to baseball. I feel like always just continues to make the wrong PR move. You know, they don't like to get behind their superstars. They don't like to interact or have their superstars interact and be excitable. They like them to be mundane and not that there's anything wrong with showing up to a job site, punching the clock, and getting to work, but at the same time, these Major League Baseball players, NFL athletes, all athletes that are superstars are entertainers, and they've got to mix a little bit of that entertainment value in. And I'm not saying go completely to the WWE, but at the same time, there's got to be a little bit of a billable excitement for a team to rally around and to get fans excited about. And that's why you look at guys like Fernando Tatis Jr. and you look at Guerrero up in Toronto, Mike Trout in Los Angeles. I mean, there's guys there to get you over and get you through, but Major League Baseball it's an old person's sport. It really is. And I say Major League Baseball because college baseball, I think people get behind. And there was people that were actually rooting for college baseball or Major League Baseball rather to keep striking while college baseball takes the mainstream. And I think baseball is a game that people are behind and can get behind and people love because of the simplicity of it. But it's also Major League Baseball has shot themselves in the foot time and time again. And at this point, I'm not sure that there's anything they can do to answer your question to get back in the limelight and the spotlight of where they should be and overtake the NFL and, as much as it pains me to say, overtake the NBA.
And something else I think is really interesting. I'm not as big a connoisseur as our man Anthony Hartwick when it comes to uh, something like softball, but even softball, DJ, more recently, I think it's from what I've read and checking it out a little more and more here and there, getting to know some of the teams, the players. It seems like even that is becoming more popular. DJ, in your mind, how much do you think baseball's issue is, trying to implement new and exciting things, but also trying to appease the older generation, the maybe fans that are 50 plus or whatever, because I kind of feel like you gotta make a decision. It's gotta be one or the other. And I feel like baseball with this going back and forth. First we're gonna have 7 inning double headers. Now it's back to nine. And they kind of went back and forth with runner starting with the runner on second base, and all these rules they've tried to do to implement to speed up the game. It seems like they feel like they made a mistake, and now they're going back to they want to go back to how it always was. But it seems to be like you said, it's almost like it's dated. So what do they do? They seem like they really don't know how to like engage with the fans.
Yeah, I think the problem is that you've got a bunch of owners that have been around for a long time. They've got a little bit of the they're a little long in the tooth, as they say, and they're used to a game that's been played for hundreds of years, right? That's been played the same way by their heroes as it is today, and they don't want to see a change. They don't care whether it lines their pockets or not. And Amo had a spot here that says the owner of the Guardians paid $49 million for his team payroll, but paid for his brother's campaign for Ohio Senate seat for $50 million. What are your thoughts of that? To take that question on real quick, I think that fans need to calm down a little bit from a standpoint of. I just watched our show on YSN, the Casual Sports Podcast, and over and over again, I heard that these teams need to pay money in order to have good products on the field, and I don't think that's the case necessarily. I don't think. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that you got to spend some money. If you're the Orioles, the Pirates, or the Guardians, and you're the bottom three, and it's $35 million or less of team payroll, I think you're in a real big problem. But at the same time, the Mets continue to throw money at their problems, and it doesn't get them a seat at the table in playoff season. And I don't think that money solves all the problems. I think that some of these guys, it's always a chess match, right? You have to hire a good GM that knows what they're doing and can sell guys at the right time in order to bolster your future. The Pirates have, I think, a pretty nice future ahead of them, but Neil Huntington wasn't the answer. Ben Cherington, to me, is a great general manager with World Series experience and is trying to build something here. Now, eventually, the Pirates will have to spend money, same as the Guardians. The Guardians will have to spend money, but the Guardians are pretty much emptied out and hollowed out from the inside because they had their opportunity to garner special talents, and they're all in the big leagues at this point, right? The farm system's a little bit bare. So you got to be able to know how to play the game. I think the owners are okay with the way the game's played because they're not playing it. They could care less. Baseball is a business to them. And I think that, the players, and if we got a couple new owners in the seats somewhere at the table, I think baseball would be better for it. And I'm not saying that, it's one of those situations where you just want young minds and you want to taint the game or tarnish the game. But at the same time, the game needs to change or it will die. I mean, people are learning how to cheat the system more and more every single day and cheat the game more and more every single year. And when you look at it, we're still complaining about steroids and things in that nature in baseball. And if that's your biggest problem, I'm sorry, that's not a problem at all, because baseball itself used that to save baseball in the mid 90s. And I think that now they're going to sit there and complain about it and say that it's a problem, and you can have it one way or the other, but you can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? It helped you survive in 20 some years ago, and now you're going to sit there and say that these guys are bad apples. And I think there's a lot of problems, Scotty, in baseball. I think that that steroids is not among the top 10 if I had to list it out there. In the top 20 maybe, but the top 10 I don't think so.
And you wonder, DJ, I've seen you make this post before. I think it was on Facebook about if you had this tool that you knew was gonna enhance your performance, make you better, like basically like, would you use it? And almost everybody's answer was like it was, glaringly obvious. Like, yes, of course, I would use it. And I think most people, although I'm kind of, you know, I think a dinosaur when it comes to this, I do enjoy a good pitcher's duel. Like, I love seeing two great aces, great pitchers go at it. But most people, and from conversations I've had with you, so you're included in this, when they go to a baseball game, they want to see the offense and the hitter shine. They want to see the home run balls. So honestly, DJ, this might sound like a very unpopular opinion, and young kids maybe earmuffs for young kids that are listening, but like, I don't know, should these guys just all be allowed to juice up so we could have these mega home run chases again? Because
I think of it this way, Scotty. When you go to the movies, you don't go to see guys like you and I be the hero of the story, right? You and I aren't exactly James Bond or Superman or the Batman or Spider Man or anybody like that. Imagine if you went and spent your hard-earned money, $20 for a movie ticket. You got $10 for the popcorn. Add another ticket on there for a special lady that you're taking there. So you're in $50 right there. So let's do this. Let's go and watch an average dude try and go and save the world. Like, what would that story be like? It'd be boring, right? Just the same way that, like, if I want to go see average people play and people that I can compete against, we're going to go to like a high school baseball game where a lot of times it's free, right? Now you're going to get some talent there at a high school baseball game that's going to be elite, and you're going to get some kids that don't even want to be there. But at the end of the day, Scotty, if you're going to a Major League Baseball game or you're going to an NFL football game, you want to see people do things that you can't do on your own, right? I'm not going to go out there and kick a 65-yard field goal. I'm not going to go out there and move a refrigerator, 38 times a day, like these offensive linemen do. And I can't surely pass the ball 65 yards on a dime down the field. The same way that I can't throw, a 1-9, down from home to second. I can't throw from right field to home plate on an absolute P-rod. I want to see these people do things that I don't do. That's what I'm paying to see. I'm paying to be entertained. I'm paying to go, wow, did you see that? I'm not going somewhere where I can go, oh, wow, he three-hopped, the fence, or they had to use 3 cutoffs from the wall to the plate to get the ball in. I'm sorry, call me what you want, but I'm not paying to see that at the price of a ticket for a Major League Baseball game.
So, like, it seems to me that you'd still rather, and even though both the Indians and the Pirates, they have to compete against, franchises that could just, I don't want to necessarily, I think the term like buy titles is overblown, because you you could get a lot of good players in sports. It doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna win a title, but I think it gives you a better opportunity. So, kind of one other question I had for you on this, trying to think about it in the long run. And when I say long run, I'm talking 2 to 5 years from now. As a Pirates fan, just because nobody, I mean, unless you're a diehard like you, nobody's really expecting the Pirates, to contend this season. We could all be optimistic, but nobody's really expecting it all. But on the other side of the coin, you have the Indians, where most people say they're gonna have the one of the best starting rotations in baseball if they stay healthy. but they also say there's a general consensus out there that their lineup is going to be pretty awful, with the exception of Jose Ramirez. So, do you think the Pirates, especially now with their new GM they have in there now, do you think they're building it for the future better than the Indians are? Because the Indians seem to be have 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and I just don't think that's the right way to build a team. Like you said, they depleted the farm system. They have some really good pitchers, potentially one that's won a Cy Young and Shane Bieber, and one great hitter, but really nothing else. Where the Pirates are really building up that system. So I got to be honest uh, with you, DJ. Unless, like you said, spending oodles of money just out the wazoo, it doesn't always work, but you got to spend a little bit. If the Indians just don't spend it all and continue to do what they're doing, I think 2 to 5 years down the line, the Pirates are going to be in a better position, because I think they'll be loaded with prospects and young stars, and then all they got to do is, go out and spend a little bit of money. But what are your thoughts?
So I think the Guardians fans are in for a little bit of a wake up call. So I heard today that the ownership wants to spend 120 million dollars a year. That's where the Dolans want to be at. When you think about that, this is an interesting year to be a Cleveland baseball fan, because you had a change of the guard, so to speak, no pun intended, from the Indians to the Guardians. You had to basically liquidate everything that had Chief Wahoo or the Block C on it, in exchange for everything that has the new branding of the Guardians. So whatever they're calling that weird looking C that they have on their hats, that is something that people are not taking into consideration, because what most fans don't understand is the Dolans are paying for that, right? So that's like paying for another player, because you have to pay for that stuff up front, even if it doesn't sell. And it doesn't look like, in all the different articles that I've read, that Cleveland fans are overly excited to be rebranding Guardians gear after all the Indian stuff that they bought for their entire lifetime. The Guardian stuff is not flying off the shelves the way they expected it to be. Now, part of that, as the article states, it could be that baseball is a sore spot for a lot of sports fans right now, because there's a lot of greed that has been going on the last few weeks with the Major League Baseball lockout and things of that nature. Now, I'm going to be interested to see what happens when opening day comes around. Will people start buying Guardian stuff? I'm sure they will. But the team is paying for that. And that's something that most teams want to avoid at all costs. Whenever they're having to restock the shelves with brand new stuff and having to give their old stuff away, the old product and merchandise, basically give it away for cost or less than what they paid for cost. That's troublesome. So I think there's a couple different things that go into this. When you talked about the 2 to 5 year window, the Pirates are used to jumping into that 2 to 5 year window. They're used to playing that game. With Ben Cherington, it's a little different. I think he's been building for the future. They could have cared less what the team has done the last 2 years. I think this is another year where they don't really care about the wins and losses. They care about the experience that their guys are getting at the major league level, and seeing if they can garner up some interest for one or two more guys to get traded away, and then build some more prospects through their pipeline. The Indians and the Guardians have never been built for that. They've never been built that they're going to roll it all through the minors and bring everybody up through the minor leagues. They've always been built around free agency, which is something the Pirates have never, ever, 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 ever been built upon as long as I've been alive. So, you had that team that was up at, 94 with Bell and Vizquel and Baerga and Lofton and Tomey. That was the last time the Indians really dipped into their minor league system and brought up some homegrown talent, and they just preserved it like jam for the better part of 10, 15 years, to which then CC Sabathia and guys like that came through, just kind of one at a time. Victor Martinez, one of my favorite catchers of all time, came up one at a time, where now I think the Guardians are going to have to do that again. They're going to have to build through the draft and build through trades to build up their pipeline once again and to put a good product on the field, because it doesn't look like they want to spend a ton of money unless they have to. So I'm interested, Scotty. I really am. I think that the Guardians can do it. It's going to take a different game plan that they've had for a long time to do it. And, their free agency it always is going to cost you the most. It's always going to cost you the biggest price tag, because the players want to make the most money too. They're not going to settle for, I want to go to Cleveland because it's beautiful in the summertime. That just doesn't happen.
Two things I had for you, DJ, that before we get into the second half of the show, then I wanted to pick your brain on, what's going on in NFL free agency and, the Deshaun Watson trade. But just a couple quick things. Do you think, just in your own personal opinion, on a smaller scale, do you think the fans would be more interested and invested if they would have went with a name like the Spiders, which is what I wanted? And then the second thing is, if you're a smaller market team, DJ, and you know that your payroll is only going to be so much, and you know that there might be a player on another team that's making more, makes more money than your entire payroll is all together, what you're paying your entire roster. Knowing that, if you're a small market team, if you're the Guardians or the Pirates, say they get a stud that comes up through the system, what do you think of shelling out mega contracts to guys, to a superstar? Do you think that's a mistake teams make, or do you think for the small market teams it's kind of a necessity because you have to give the fans something to want to come see?
It's interesting. I mean, I've always been the guy, and listen, just the background for those who don't know, I was a catcher, I was a lineman, a kicker. From that standpoint, I was never the star, right? I was always kind of in those team roles, as a role player, as a grinder, things of that nature. So I've never been in a position to really understand how these superstars go and get paid, right? And they get the mega deals, and then they have the gall to complain about not being able to compete for championships because there's no money left for anybody else in a salary cap driven league. Aaron Rodgers is the one that's latest to do a mega deal like that. I don't understand how he thinks he's going to compete for a Super Bowl trophy when at the end of the day there's not enough money or resources that are going to be allocated to his teammates to go and get other players that are worth their salt to be able to play with him. And that was his big thing, is I want to compete for championships. And now he takes $200 million over the course of 4 or 5 years, and he's going to look around. He already lost Devontae Adams. Who's going to replace one of the best receivers in the league? Adams went and got paid because the Packers couldn't pay him, and they needed to free up cap space to do so. So they got a couple draft picks. That's great. Well, the problem is going to be is these megastars want to go and sign these huge contracts and not have to worry about anything, with these guaranteed contracts, and nobody's going to be able to play with them. They're going to be surrounded by either first-year guys that are rookies who you don't know, you're rolling the dice on. Obviously there's a lot of reward that can be there, but there's also a lot of risk, because how many rookies have we seen come into the league and absolutely flop like a fish right out because they can't contend, they can't cut the mustard. So, my thing is when I see somebody sign huge contracts and mega deals, Scotty, I know that they're in it for themselves. They're in it for one person, and that's them. And listen, good for them. For them to not have to worry for the next few generations of their lineage and their family, good for them. They deserve to cut it. But when to me, it's the organizations that are on the other end of the table signing the deal that say, we're giving up all of our trust for the rest of the team for this one guy, really. I mean, Tom Brady's not signing mega deals. Look what he's done. So it comes down to, do you want guys like Tom Brady that are winning, a historic rate, or do you want a guy like Aaron Rodgers that he might be considered, the best 5 quarterbacks of all time, but he's only going to win one championship? That's just kind of where I've been able to single things out.
Yeah, it's man, and you even look at Kansas City now. I haven't checked ESPN in the last hour or so, but you look at the whopper contract Patrick Mahomes signed, and I'm thinking, from what I'm hearing, Tyreek Hill has played his last down in Kansas City. So
he's going to be a Dolphin.
As you said, you can't keep everybody. And look at baseball too. You brought up the stars of the game, and Mike Trout signed that, whopper of a contract. I think he's been to the playoffs one time in his entire career.
Baseball's different, I think, though, because baseball doesn't have a salary cap, right? Like, if the owners are willing to pay, then they can pay. They can put whatever number they want on it, and so can the players. Football, basketball, hockey, obviously, the other major sports, everywhere else there's a salary cap. And I think baseball is the only one you can get away with it, but I think owners still are a little bit gun-shy with some of these players. And is Mike Trout worth his contract? Every bit of it. Every bit of it. Is it keeping other players from coming to Los Angeles? It might be. But when you look at some of these contracts being signed elsewhere, it makes you scratch your head and go, I don't know that baseball has that same problem. I just think they have a problem with, owners and players being on the same page, and owners don't want a salary floor, and baseball players don't want a salary cap. So, as long as those two things continue to be the beginning and end of the conversation, that's what it's going to be. Baseball, the lower end baseball players are going to get paid more, but so are the higher end baseball players, and the owners are happy both ways. It's
really interesting stuff. I'm glad.
Should we take a break before we get to your football side of things?
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
You want to toss it to break?
Pay the bills.
You want to toss it to break?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're take a break, come back. I want to get DJ's thoughts on NFL free agency. A ton has happened since we last spoke, so keep it right here. YSN Live. We'll be back.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
And welcome back to the YSN Power Hour. It's Scotty's Day here on the Power Hour. It is Wednesday. The Mincher's back with the Modell Sucks hat on. Scotty, it's your show. You get to be the host. Here it goes, buddy. Right back to you.
Yeah, thank you, DJ. And I got to get better at leading us in the break. That was you rolled the red carpet out for me. I got to be better. That was a single. Next time I'll hit a home run, to use baseball as an example. But DJ, I down the line, future shows, I definitely want to get to more local stuff. But today, since so much has happened and there's been so much that I've read about Major League Baseball, I wanted to start with that. And NFL free agency, so much has happened. I want to get into Deshaun Watson and your thoughts on the whole thing. But before we do that, I saw your first post when the Steelers made the signing of Mitchell Trubisky official, and I couldn't tell if you were actually really pumped or just being sarcastic or a little bit of both. So your thoughts on the Trubisky signing, and also I want to get your thoughts on something that you were on about last football season. There are a couple reports out there that say if the Browns can't find a suitor for Baker and he gets cut, that the Steelers would pound. So what is DJ Oakley thinking right now about all this?
Well, I like Mitch Trubisky. And I like him for a few reasons. Number one, he's a perfect bridge quarterback, but there's potential that he could be the next franchise quarterback for the Steelers. You know, he's a young quarterback, 27 years old, doesn't have a whole lot of wear and tear on him. From that standpoint, he's mobile. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he's not Ben Roethlisberger from the mobile standpoint. He's got a good arm. He's an accurate quarterback for from what I can understand and deciphering some of the numbers. He's made some bad decisions, but he's also learned how to do progressions as he's been in the league. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in a motion offense. So when you look at what Matt Canada has done last year, he was a little bit hindered because of Roethlisberger's lack of mobility and kind of one-trick pony stuff, which is okay. It got Ben 2 Super Bowls and got him into a third. But when you look at Mitchell Trubisky, there's a little more, I guess, leeway with the things that you can do. He's going to be able to less of a gunslinger, less of I don't know what the best word, without trying to. I'm not trashing Ben by any means. He's less of a liability.
A risk taker.
Yeah, less of a liability. Like you know probably the one or two places where the ball is going to go, most likely. So I like Mitchell Trubisky from a lot of different ways, and I think he could be a Steeler for a long time. He's the kind of Steeler quarterback that you come to expect. Is he Ben Roethlisberger? No. Is he Terry Bradshaw? No. But he's certainly not Neil O'Donnell. He's certainly not, guys of that state, Kent Graham and Cordell Stewart. He's an NFL quarterback in this day and age. And, people think that you have to be Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady or Josh Allen to be an elite quarterback in the league and to win Super Bowls. Listen, I like what the Steelers are doing, Scotty, and I like them. Everybody's loading up on quarterbacks in the AFC while the Steelers are loading up their defense. I mean, to me, defense is what's going to win championships down the stretch, not necessarily your quarterback. Your quarterback can lose you a championship, but your defense is going to win you one.
And with that defense that the Steelers do have, I saw a lot of people, Steelers fans included, which I didn't really understand. Not yourself, DJ, but a lot of other people kind of trash this signing or, kind of haw at it, like poke fun at the signing. But I don't think Mitchell Trubisky, as you were saying, pointing out the things he does well, I don't think he's as bad as people think by a long shot, because I know there's people that think he's like just terrible. Remember, he had a season where he went 12-4, and the Bears were, they were a legitimate threat contender with him for that season. And with that Steeler defense and the running game that they do have, Najee Harris, I think he's only going to get better.
Scotty, let me ask you a question. I'm going to give you two records of quarterbacks, and you tell me what they're worth. One quarterback is 28-25 as a starter, and the other quarterback is 29-21 as a starter. How much would you give those quarterbacks as a salary if you were an owner?
Like annually?
Just as let's say it's a 5-year deal.
5-year deal, I'd probably give them. I mean, these contracts now are just absurd. So I think you could get away with giving them about $75 million.
Okay, $75 million. So Mitchell Trubisky is 29-21 as a starter. Did you know who the other person was?
Is it Baker?
Nope. The other person's Deshaun Watson. And the Browns just gave him $230 million. Mitchell Trubisky got a $14 million contract, and he has one more win than Deshaun Watson has. And oh, by the way, Deshaun Watson's only 1-2. I talked about this yesterday on the show. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about it. But again, from that standpoint, Mitch Trubisky, I don't think is that much different than Deshaun Watson. And oh, by the way, Mitch Trubisky can play in cold weather. Deshaun Watson's 0-4 in games that are under 40 degrees.
it's definitely a big investment. I'm not, and there no names, but there's a guy that used to be around these parts with us that he's pretty um, ecstatic about this move, and a lot of Browns fans seem to think it's finally the guy. Like uh, first we thought it was Baker. Now people think it's Deshaun Watson that's going to put an end to all the names that have been on the back of the jersey. Uh, I think just from a pure talent perspective and his physical attributes, he has all the things you want, but let's not forget um, the Deshaun Watson has already in his career torn his ACL. Mitchell Trubisky has not. Deshaun Watson uh, has had a year off of football, and it's most likely going to be longer than a year with these civil cases. Mitchell Trubisky has not. So, if you're talking about just physical gifts and his scrambling ability and his arm, I go Deshaun Watson all day, but the Browns, it's such a huge investment, all that money that's guaranteed. And he's a guy, like you said, he's never really played in cold weather, and the games he has, he just hasn't done well. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited. I'm happy from a pure football perspective, taking the off the field stuff out of it. I'm happy as a Browns fan that they made this move and pushed all their chips at the end of the table. I'm happy they took this shot, but I'm not by I'm not nowhere near saying this is finally gonna be it, because I thought that last year. I honestly did.
Yes,
It,
you
DJ.
did.
We made our bet, and after last year, I said I'm never doing that again. And
Well, let me ask you this: if you were going to put $230 million and say that you were all in on something, don't you wish that he had 30 wins to show for it this far in his career?
yeah, I do, and it's not. I don't want to say it's all his fault, but again, to your point, it's not like he had nothing either. I mean, he played with one of the best. Some people in the past have called him the best receiver in the league, DeAndre Hopkins. When he took the Texans to the playoffs, they had like a 24-0 lead on Kansas City, and he couldn't close out that game. So,
Well, wait a minute. When it's 24-0, I think he's done his part.
but DJ, I mean, yeah, a lot of that goes on the defense, but also if you're getting paid like he got paid by the Cleveland Browns, you got to keep throwing those punches, man, when you're backed into a corner. I think he kind of shut down in that second half a little bit. Just my opinion.
Just remember this whenever you guys are up, 30-0 or 30-7 in a game, and the Browns lose that game, because you can roll back the footage and say that the quarterback should have finished the job, and for $230 million, he better finish the job. So you say, because at the end of the day, Scotty, you're paying one guy $230 million who does not stop opposing offenses.
Let me ask you this though, DJ. The Browns, they at the end of the season, statistically, they had a top 5 defense last year. They have mostly everyone back. Same, we all know the talent the Steelers have on defense. You said before free agency started that you can see the Steelers going after Deshaun Watson once they hired Brian Flores away from Miami. So let me ask you this. You're kind of, saying that you don't think this Deshaun Watson move is the move that most people think it is and is going to make the Browns just that elite Super Bowl contender overnight. But would you have been happy if the Steelers were the team that gave Deshaun Watson 230 million? How
No.
would you feel if it was the Steelers?
No. I would have been okay with getting rid of some of our guys. Now, it wouldn't have been Watt. It would have been probably someone along the lines of a receiver or a Claypool and a draft pick. But to give up the next 3 first-round draft picks and to give this guy guaranteed $230 million over the next 4 to 5 years, Scotty, that's not a Steelers move. And that's for good reason. The Steelers are always hanging around. And, the guys on the Casual Sports Podcast said it best when they said Baltimore and Cleveland are always looking for Pittsburgh to have that 4-win year, and it just is not going to happen. It's not going to happen because the Steelers are always going to be a 7-win team, an 8-win team, a 9-win team at worst. And that's because they don't sell the franchise, they don't sell the farm in order to get some curdled milk. And right now, if you would have told me we get Deshaun Watson with all the baggage that comes with him, with all the the question marks around him, if we would have given up a first round, a second round, and a player, I think I would have been able to swallow it. From a Browns standpoint, I know that most Browns fans are very conflicted on this because just as Mikey says here, if this ends up failing, this might go down as one of the worst trades in the NFL. Because here's the thing, Scotty, it doesn't set you back the next 4 years. It sets you back the next 10. Because every rookie contract is 4 years, 5 years, right? So now you've got this year, you've got this year plus 4 years. Next year plus 4 years. Next year plus 4 years. So it's setting you back that many years. And again, if Deshaun Watson is not a Pro Bowl every year quarterback, what do you got him for? Because you could have went and got your franchise quarterback in the next draft. CJ Stroud is there. You've got tons of talent, tons of depth at the quarterback position, and you don't have to sell the farm to get it. And at the end of the day, the best case scenario, and I said this publicly on my Facebook page, I'll say it on Twitter, if the Steelers leave this draft, if they trade out of the first round this draft to get a first rounder next year, I'm absolutely excited. Because then we've got 2 shots at getting a CJ Stroud or a top tier quarterback if they decide to come out. And then you're rolling. You've got a franchise quarterback that can sit 1 year, which was the plan for Ben Roethlisberger, if you remember, before Tommy Maddox got hurt, which was how Tom Brady fell into the greatest of all time. Quarterbacks that sit are ones that end up doing very, very well in the NFL level. Look at Aaron Rodgers. You're gonna look at other quarterbacks such as Patrick Mahomes. That were able to sit for 1 year. Learn the game, adjust to the game, let it adjust to them, so to speak. The Browns sold everything to win right now. The problem is they don't have the pieces to win right now, and there are too many obstacles in their way to win right now. Now, I will say this, Scotty. The Chiefs took a step backwards today by getting rid of Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins.
So he's officially gone?
He's gone. But I will also say this, is that the Dolphins took a step up today. So I don't know if that's good or bad for the Browns. I don't know if it's good or bad for the Chiefs, but I do know the Dolphins got better today, and I think the Chiefs got worse. But that's just another cog in the wheel for the Browns, and the AFC is going to be loaded, and for the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to be that way. So I'm excited to see how it goes, but I think the Browns fans being conflicted, it's the same old story, Scotty, every year. It's our guys are better than yours on paper, and then all of a sudden your quarterback stinks, and you take it on the quarterback doesn't want to be there anymore. The problem is going to be that you can't move Deshaun Watson.
Well, here's the thing too, DJ, and I know we're getting we're wrapping up here, but this is another. I know they say this move wasn't for just this year, but this year had to be a big part of it. Now, I don't think they make this move if they think Deshaun Watson was going to get suspended the whole year. So I don't think he's going to get suspended an entire year, but I do think he'll get a minimum of 4 games. I think he could get up to 8 games. And let's say it's 8 games. You just invested all that. You gave away all those draft picks. If he misses 8 games in this loaded AFC, this loaded division with Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson,
Mitch Trubisky,
Mitch Trubisky, and the loaded Steelers defense, it just doesn't. I don't know. It's definitely a big gamble. I still would have done it. And the one thing I disagree with you on, I think the Browns do have the pieces to win right now. I think and you know me, I've been a Baker apologist, but I think last year, if you just simply flip the quarterbacks, if you put Joe Burrow on the Browns last year and Baker Mayfield on Cincinnati, I think the Browns would have gone.
Stop. If you would have put Tom Brady on the Steelers, they'd have 15 Super Bowls by now. Like, you can't do that, Scotty. Come on. We've talked about this 100 times. If you're going to say that the Browns had the pieces, then you can't put Joe Burrow on the team. That's not the pieces.
But don't you think Deshaun Watson at his absolute worst is a
really bad quarterback and a terrible person?
He's really bad. See, I think at his absolute worst, he's still like in the top 12.
But you said Baker Mayfield was a top 5 quarterback last year.
I said top 10.
With a chance to be top 5.
With the chance to be top 5.
And where did he end up?
He ended up 27th, I think it was. Yeah.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
Yeah, you never know how it's gonna go, but
if I could, if we have all the pieces, if we had Joe Burrow.
This is my. I'll close with this.
Wait, you need to do your thing. You can't close with it yet. We still got to pay for the bills here.
Okay. I know I'm gonna do my spark, but one final thing, DJ. Deshaun Watson's made the Pro Bowl 3 times.
And so has Mitch Trubisky once.
No disrespect to Baker, but he's never been. I just think Deshaun Watson is, I don't know. I just think, again, no disrespect to Baker, no disrespect to Mitch Trubisky. he's better than those guys. Now, one guy doesn't make a team. We'll see how it plays
You're right.
out.
You're right. That's why I would rather they pay $230 million to 11 guys rather than one.
Point taken. We'll see how it's gonna be a lot of fun. That's all I know.
I can't wait. I
least
cannot wait. Oh,
first
baby, I
couple
cannot wait.
weeks of the season.
I'll sucker you into another bet. That's a guarantee.
Yeah, you'll give me. Hey, you know what I'm most happy about is that baseball is playing their full 162 now. I have my chance at the Pirates losing 100.
Let's get to our spark.
All right.
It's the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark, presented by our friends over at DickeyElectric.com. Visit them on their campus in North Lima or head over on the World Wide Web. It's been a while since anybody said the World Wide Web. At DickeyElectric.com. Joe Dickey Electric, proudly powering and energizing the Mahoning Valley for over 60 years. Scotty, give it to us.
Okay, here's my spark. And I brought a lot of energy today. I was excited. And this ties into what we close the show with. And, you know, it's a negative spark. And it's not because, again, just the football side of it, I'm very elated they made the move. But with all the off-the-field stuff, DJ, I would kindly break your balls for years about Big Ben, but from what I read about Deshaun Watson, he makes Big Ben look like a choir boy. I'm sure those, jokes are gonna come back at me full circle. What goes around comes around. That's my beef. Is like the Browns, they make this move. Fans want to be excited, but also as a person, we don't know how these civil suits are going to turn out. But it looks like Deshaun Watson, could be a scumbag and has gotten rewarded for it. So, I want to be super excited, and I wish I could go out and get a Deshaun Watson jersey, but with all this hanging over him, I don't think I could do it. I'll still always be a Browns fan, but it's a real bummer that we had to get a quarterback under these circumstances, and that's my spark.
I like it. Scotty, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say in the next 2 to 3 seasons, you are going to hate Deshaun Watson and absolutely take back everything you said on today's show. However, my spark is a good one today, Mr. Scooter, because my spark means that we are merely days away from your broadcast debut here on YSN, and you are announcing the All-Star Game, the Girls All-Star Game in particular, which starts at 5 o'clock. You and Anthony Hartwig will have the call. I am ecstatic to hear you on the mic and talking about basketball and loving every minute of it. So I'm really excited. It gives me so much pleasure, so much joy to see you light up like a Christmas tree every time we bring up the All-Star Game and you announcing it.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait, buddy. And by the way, what time? I know the girls' game's at 5, but what time would you like me and Jimmy to be there?
Doors open at 4 o'clock, my friend, to the public. So come on in whenever. We'll be there already, I'm sure.
Okay, cool. Radar's going to tag along, but Jimmy already he laid down the law. He said no broadcasting, but he's coming along.
Turn the satellites around, baby, because here we're broadcasting worldwide on ysnlive.com. For Scotty Mincher, my name's DJ Oakley. That's going to do it for our show today. Thanks for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it, and we will see you tomorrow from 3 to 4 right here on ysnlive.com on the Power Hour. YSN thanks you for watching this presentation